All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How we doing? Come on in, get a seat, that kind of stuff. We're gonna get going here. We're about to start rolling. Going over our monthly sales meeting. I got lots of cool information to share with everybody. So everybody ready to roll?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. So today I want to jump right into data. I want to look at what do our numbers look like. Use your spot right there. As far as like what's going on in our market. And so I think it's always relevant that we look at exactly what's happening in our marketplace and not just base it upon feelings. Because I know a lot of folks are feeling, like as realtors, we feel what our clients feel. And if they're feeling down or not necessarily engaged, or if they don't feel good about certain things, a lot of times we feel the same way. But that's not always based on reality and what's actually happening and what's actually going on in the marketplace. So that's why we want to start looking at, let's just start looking at the numbers here. Don't hit the button, but we'll try to.
I was going to say, are you sharing screen?
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, we sharing the screen. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So first thing is that what's happening with listings? What's happening with the amount of listings that we have? It's up. It's up significantly too, but not so significantly that we're worried about pricing, but we're seeing where inventory is up. And so on these slides, the top, that's the Georgia MLS numbers. The bottom is the FMLS numbers. And I like to have a really clear idea. So we pull them from both of our the big multiple listing services for the Atlanta area. And you can see the overall new listings in Georgia MLS are up about 31%. In FMLS, 29.9, 30%. So new listings overall are up 30%. Is that good or bad? That's great. Okay. I mean, like especially those of us that were in the business in like summer 2021. What was the problem summer 2021? We didn't have any houses to sell, right? I mean, a house would come on the market, we'd have 15 offers on it, we'd be fighting over it. So we're seeing inventory increase. And that's a really, really good thing. The other nice thing is that this is also a foreteller of what's happening later on. Normally 2 to 3 months from now, what happens to an increase of listings in 2 to 3 months? What do you end up having? An increase in sales, right? So like when listings go up, a couple months later, sales go up. So this is a really good thing for us overall. I don't want you to think now, and if you look at total active listings, the other ones were just new listings coming in the market. This is our total inventory. Total inventory up 27% in Georgia MLS, almost and 38% in FMLS. Again, is that good or bad? Really good. Now, some folks are we worried about, especially residential real estate, it's based on supply versus demand. So we have a lot more supply than we've had in the past, right? So are we worried about prices really tanking? No, because even though we are up, roughly 30-something% over last year, we are still 40% of where we were pre-pandemic, right? We've been running incredibly low inventory numbers for the last 4 years. Pre-pandemic, we're still 40% lower than we were just on the total number of inventory overall than we were in pre-pandemic. So you can see why I'm not concerned, right? This is something that we've been waiting to see, needing to see. And so now that we're actually seeing it, this is a really good thing for us. Now, pending sales are not our friend, however. So we had been running up over last month in pending sales every month this year, up until this current month. And so now we're running down about 5% in pending sales. What do you think is driving that? Y'all awake or what? What's driving pending sales? Interest rates. We know it's interest rates. Interest rates is the big kicker. That's the thing that's hurting us right now. So we know that. But there is some good news, and we're going to talk in a lot more detail about interest rates in just a second. How about closed sales? Overall, we're up 5.6 in Georgia MLS and about 5% in FMLS. So we're selling more homes than we did last year. We have rising inventory that's in good rate, and hopefully we're going to start seeing even more relief on the interest rates moving forward. Does that make you feel a little bit better? A little. All right, I'm with you. How about days on market? So overall, we're sitting at about 44, 45 days on days on market between the two MLSs. Is that good, bad, or terrible? Awful, wonderful, what?
It's not the same deal.
It's really, really flat, right? I mean, not a huge change in where we've been from the past several years. So you can still see that there's still a lot of demand. We have a lot more active listings coming on the market, but our days on market aren't shooting up. So what's that mean? That means we're selling more houses, right? Which is normal for this time of year anyway. We sell more homes from now through the summer than any other month. So sales price. So, well, it depends on how you look at this, right? Right now in Georgia MLS, we're up 7.4%, FMLS, we're up 5.3. Is this bad? Well, a lot of times, some folks will say for buyers, especially like we're talking buyers,
Yeah,
is an appreciating market good or bad for buyers?
it's bad.
See, I completely disagree that it's bad. Well, let me explain, right? Do you want to buy, I mean, like when you buy a used car, I'm sorry, when you buy a new car, how much is it worth after you pull off the parking lot? A lot less. It's a depreciating asset from that moment. Do you want to buy a house and think, you know what? Prices are going down. I sure hope my home's worth less next year.
No.
Nobody does, right? That's the thing, right? And so like when I say, now this amount of property value appreciation, this is very healthy. 4.4% is our average appreciation for the last 50 years. And so we're right in the normal range. If we're in double-digit growth again, like we were for the past couple of years, then we're going to create a bubble, and that's going to be a problem. But we can handle that 4 to 5 to 6% property value appreciation. It's very, very normal. It's a very safe place to be. If we were depreciating in value, that's harder for your buyers, right? And I understand that affordability is an issue for our buyers for sure. My heart goes out, especially to our first-time buyers. But it would be way worse because if property values start going down, and they are going to start flattening out. I do think that we're going to be really in a very flat place moving forward, and that's okay. But no one wants to buy something they think is going to be worth less next year.
No, that was, I don't mean.
Okay, so you changed your mind, didn't you? There we go. Yeah, that's okay. You're a woman. You can definitely change your mind. Sorry, I know it's sexist. I know. Overall, what's our absorption rate in the Atlanta area? And so you can see that we're sitting on about 3.2 months of standing inventory in Georgia MLS and 3.1 months of standing inventory in FMLS. How many months of inventory do we need to have a balanced market? 6 months, right? So again, even though we see inventory increasing, we know that, and that's a good thing for us. Are we seeing a balanced market yet? No. Are we heading towards a more balanced market? Yeah, I believe that we are heading towards a more balanced market. And I like that. A balanced market is a very great place for us to be sitting in. But I just want, again, this is about knowing your numbers and also looking at the real data, right? This is not me skewing anything or just being like, oh, let's pluck out the things that we want to see, right? So I want you to know exactly what's happening in our local marketplace, because when you see the national data, how relevant is that to Georgia? Well, how relevant is some of the national data? Some of it is some of it we fit in just fine with, but some of it not at all. Like last year, we saw California and Florida really drop in property value appreciation overall. We didn't in Georgia in any way, shape, or form. And if you looked at some of those national numbers, like real estate is still local. And even this is on a state level is not like is the market in Sandy Springs the same as the market in Griffin? No. So those values are it's still gonna be highly dependent on location, right? Now, one other thing I want.
Don't leave them out.
What now?
I said, don't leave them out. They coming up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the data point I kind of wanted to share with you, which I found to be kind of interesting. And this is, FMLS tracks how many showings are scheduled on a property through showing time until it goes under contract. So in 2022, we're averaging 12 showings. 2023, averaging 11 showings. How about now? 8 showings. Well, but I mean, our volume is up to flat, and so people are looking at less homes before they actually buy one. Just an interesting data point right there. But you know, like your average, and that's also something for you to keep a reference of. If I have 8 showings on my property, what should I have?
Property
A
ready to
contract.
go.
I should have a contract, right? And so if I have 15 showings on my home, on my listing, there's something wrong, right? You should have had 2 contracts at this point. And so this is just for you to kind of keep up with, understand what's really going on with that.
Well, this is also good to keep in mind that if your property's not ready to show and not where the buyers and think the work.
You have to be closer to the microphone for everybody else, so I don't mind you chiming in, but you gotta,
All right,
Yeah.
whatever.
they want to hear you.
So this is a good indication to let you know that, you know, buyers is looking less and less. What that means that your property has to be ready, set and go. If it's not, you're gonna have an issue. And so if you, like they, you know, I don't know if you've seen a trend yet, but if you're not under contract in 2 weeks, it's an indication.
45% of our listings are under contract in 2 weeks.
That's still I mean, valid data on what the buyer think your house is worth.
Good property, priced right, sell quickly,
Absolutely.
so. All right, but we know affordability is a challenge for us right now, right? I mean, I don't think anyone can say that it's not. Affordability is definitely a big issue that we're having kind of across the board. And so one place where we do want to kind of talk about where there are some forces that are at play here is in response to this, our builders are building smaller homes.
Yep.
And I want to try and prepare you for this, in part because like even with a conversation that Ming and I had. So I showed her one of these new construction homes, and she was like, "Ugh." And you know, we have to understand that, especially when it comes to affordability, it's not what's right for us. We're seeing more and more of our clients willing to move farther away than they said they would. More clients willing to consider modular homes, townhomes, condos, things like that, because it's an affordability issue. And so the same thing's kind of going, we're seeing so much new construction going smaller. I mean, going significantly smaller, right? So like if you look at, like this is what's happened with the square footage of new construction going on, you know, and there's this big drop recently because they're building townhomes and they're building smaller properties. They really are. And so if we're the ones though that kind of poo-poo this, if we're the ones who are like why are the builders building smaller? Because they're building homes that our buyers can afford to buy.
Well, what it is that they're giving incentive, of course, they're competing with the regular lender, 5.99, okay, interest rate. So what they did is essentially build some of the costs into the sale price. So it's not necessary that they're cutting corner on the building itself, is that they're lowering the square footage so they can build in that cost where they're buying down the buyer's rates. And that's why the cost of the purchase price is included on the buy down rate. And do you have user lender? 9 out of 10, yes.
Yeah.
To get that special rate because it's already calculated in the back end of their equation.
Yeah, you're gonna use their lender, you're gonna use their closing attorney. So this is the picture that made like
Yeah, I went,
stuck her nose up at kind of thing. And so
well, it's a house with a garage. That's all you see.
It is,
But at the same time, that's not my call.
right? So, but this is a 1,400
But
square
look
foot home.
how tunnel and narrow it is.
It is,
The floor
but
plan.
they're selling, you know, like the price point's gonna be in that 250 to 300 range.
That's in Georgia.
Well, that's coming to Georgia right now.
That's right now in Texas.
Yeah, they've started in Texas and they're in the process of getting these approved here right now.
Mhm.
So they're coming, is what I'm trying to prepare you for it. But more than that, it's also to prepare us for, it's not just tiny homes, it's townhomes. We're seeing like what are all of our builders building everywhere? Townhomes. And if you're not used to looking for townhomes for your clients, consider that. It's because affordability is forcing our buyers to be a lot more creative. We have to make sure that we're not making those decisions for our clients ourselves. And with our builders, when you start talking about affordability, we've got we got one builder offering 4.99, we got the other one offering 5.25. You know, you can't touch those rates anywhere else, and they're buying those rates down for the clients. But you got new construction, townhomes, 5.25%. You know, like they have a lot of really interesting options depending on the affordability issues for your clients. So really do consider that, because one thing that we find is that agents are either new construction agents or they're not. And I know that sounds weird. So 60% of agents sell new construction, 40% never touch it. What's that tell you?
You guys are not opening your horizon to see. what's
Almost half of
available.
us are not comfortable in new construction, so therefore we don't consider it. We're not making those offerings to our clients. We're not talking about new construction. I know new construction is a little bit of a different field, you know, like sometimes we feel like we can't do a lot for our clients in there. Trust me, your new construction clients need you more than almost anywhere else. Because the on-site agent, who do they represent?
Builder.
The builder, right? And like, they don't even want you to come through the walkthrough. Why is that?
Cause she'll look at it like, what's wrong with that one there?
Yeah. So we need to, you know, they need representation through this more than almost any other buyer group out there kind of thing. And so we want to be able to do that, but I want you to feel comfortable with it and understand that there's these products out there. The other thing is, a lot of this inventory is not in our MLS. They don't have to put inventory in the MLS until after sheetrock's up. And by that time, half the inventory is sold. So like go out, this is old school real estate. We gotta go out and meet on-site agents, talk to them. By the way, what are the best deals that you're gonna find in new construction? Standing inventory. If there's anything that's sitting there waiting to be sold, that's the ones that are gonna be the most negotiable.
Yeah.
So I just I see us missing out on the fact that there's some opportunity here. And I don't want us like making decisions for our clients. Y'all with me? All right.
Really quick, for this, how many of y'all have actually done the construction? Okay, how many haven't touched the construction? Seriously, it's okay.
I mean, no
Okay.
hate,
Well,
no shade.
The reason why I asked the question is that if you're uncomfortable with their contract, call me. Okay, let me look at it, because I'll pinpoint certain things for you guys so you can educate your client so they have informed decision. So don't be scared, because it's like anything else. Those contracts are made to protect the builders. And I just want to make sure our clients are being protected as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, buyer has a right to walk in with their eyes wide open and see what is on this contract, what their rights are. Because a lot of times they think, well, I have a right just like I do with resale. That's not the case with new construction. So I just want to educate you so you can let your client know what, you know, they need to know.
And the new construction contracts are not all the same. Every builder has a different one. There's not like, they don't all use the same one. Rarely are they using GAR contracts or RE contracts. And even then, they'll change them on a whim. So you have to read the contracts.
Well,
that's
they're
big.
kind of like our contract, you know how we change our contract every year because of lawsuit and different things like that. So we change it to benefit the brokers and the agents, same thing as new construction. They change it when there's a huge issue or repeating issue on certain subject matters.
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So is it still, I remember at one time, was it still okay to go to a builder, on-site agent and ask for a, blank contract, just to kind of?
You can
Yeah.
ask, yes.
the question was, is it okay to go on site and ask for a blank contract? Some will give it to you, some will not. So what you can do is have them fill it out, but you don't sign it. You know, I know that's kind of tricky, but you know, this is where you can tell your client, say, listen, I can't get a blank one. I share a form and they will not accept any of the forms. So therefore, you know, we can look at it, but we won't sign anything
Some
until,
will even insist that they fill it out for you.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys, really quick, on new construction, a lot of buyer's agent think, I just go in here and let them take care of everything. You know, y'all be careful, because you still have to do diligence, make sure you inform your client about inspection, about walkthrough, about the progress and timeline. You still have to do your due diligence, communicating with the listing agent, make sure that timeline has been met. If not, because everybody has a different story, right? So some people may need to move by this date, hard stop. While the builder, because the weather is the way it is, it has delayed construction. So just want to make sure you guys are coordinating those times. It's just not let the agent, on-site agent do the contract and you think you're home free. That's not the case.
We still have a big role to play.
Yeah.
All right,
Questions or thoughts?
In the new construction, is it, do they state as well, you know, like if they're taking care of your client, you only get 1% or?
Not normal.
New construction, once the contract's written, your commission should be in the new construction, and no, they cannot take any commission away from you. All right, now there's an appraisal issue, they may try to negotiate with you, but once again, that is a negotiation tool at the time. They cannot force you to reduce your commission or incentives that they have already announced and provided. All right, sorry.
no worries, no worries. All right, so let's talk about mortgage rates. What affects our mortgage rates, right? So there's a lot of different things that affect our mortgage rates. You know, inflation is definitely one of the biggest factors. And if you look at in the past years when inflation was really high, and like back in my day, in the 80s, that kind of stuff. Like inflation was really high. What were interest rates during that time?
$10.
Really high. Like my parents bought at 13% at one point, kind of thing. So, also jobs is a big deal, especially to the, when you're talking housing, jobs and housing, those go hand in hand. Overall, the economy, these are all things that the Fed is looking at. Now, what's interesting is like in the past week, we got weekly job numbers that came in really, worse. Like monthly job gains went down, right? Unemployment rate went up. Normally you would think that would be bad for us, right? Interest rates went down. So the way the interest rates and happens in the marketplace is a little bit different. And you have to understand a lot of it ends up weighing heavily on what the federal funds rate is and how the Fed is feeling at a particular time. We have a loose relationship with the federal funds rate. It's not direct. Normally, the 30-year mortgage rate and the 10-year treasury follow line by line. Normally it's about, right now it's running about 3 percentage points difference between the 10-year treasury and a 30-year mortgage rate. And see, the 10-year treasury, that's where the things where job creation, the markets, all that kind of information, that really affects that 10-year treasury. When that 10-year treasury goes all bonkers, 30-year mortgage rates go all bonkers too. And that's kind of the big kicker here. And so and as weird as it sounds, the Fed want unemployment higher and they want job creation slower because they feel that really low unemployment and a lot of high creation is causing inflation. But see, the Fed's job is their first job is to get inflation in check, right? And so the federal funds rate is the Fed, as they're called, they're really, really concerned about inflation right now. And so when they just met this past month, they said, we're going to hold it steady. We're just going to stay at exactly where they were. Now, last year, they raised rates in a very, very aggressive manner kind of thing. Because see, this is when inflation went all bonkers. Now, there's still a kind of a general sentiment, consumer sentiment, that inflation is as high as it was, in July of last year. I mean, we hit almost 9% last year. And so we're running in the 3s, 3.5, almost 4 range kind of thing. So is inflation where the Fed wants it? No, it isn't. And until inflation starts looking right, because we were looking at a really, really steady pattern. And then all of a sudden we just kind of hit that, this is what they're calling inflation sticky, right? So it started heading down, but then it didn't go all the way down. And so that's kind of why the Fed has held steady on holding the federal funds rate as high as they have. This is because mainly what happened in the 70s. See, in the 70s, they raised interest rates and then they turned around and dropped interest rates and then inflation went bonkers again, and they had to raise interest rates again, back to back, and it really did throw the economy into a giant mess. And so now what they want to be sure is that they're not gonna move too fast, and that's kind of, I know it's probably more of a history lesson than you guys wanted today, but that's why they're holding steady for as long as they have been now. So as it stands right now, the Fed's standing at about a 70% chance that the Fed is looking at dropping interest rates on their next meeting. That's kind of what the market says. Again, if anyone tells you that they know exactly what's happening with interest rates, they're lying, because I don't know. I feel like they are heading in the right direction, but I've also felt that before. So just to, as far as like
But
being,
we thought they
being
would
really
drop before the season come around March or February, but they never
But
did.
inflation has been our big challenge on that one. We realize that moving forward, right?
Yeah,
So-
but it's typical for this time of year for them to drop it September because it is election year.
You're right, it is an election year, so they're gonna have a lot of pressure to drop those interest rates, they really are. Now, Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, NAR, and these are the projections for interest rates moving forward. I think we'd all love to be in the fives. Doesn't look like that's where we're gonna be.
No,
Looks like we're heading back, right now, we just want to get under 7 again, right? Which seems strange when, several years ago, we had folks, like, I want to see when rates get below 3 kind of thing, right?
that was
And so-
unicorn.
Well, and they, that was artificially created. Are we going back to 3s? Never, right? That was artificially created. So if you have someone who says, well, I'm gonna wait until rates hit 3 or 4%, then they're never gonna buy a home. Right, because that's just the bottom line, they're not going there
What's
again.
sad about is that they look at 3-4%, what they don't realize is 100% on rentals,
Well,
you know?
the other thing here is that, the other thing we're finding is that people are getting, Americans overall are like, this is our reality, right? And that's the thing that we have to realize in the real estate market too. It's very easy to say, well, I'm gonna wait till rates hit 5. Well, we've been running in the 6s and 7s now, and we've been running heavily in the 6s except for the last 4 weeks, and now we should be back under 6 here, we're gonna be under 7 here really soon.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, but it does look that way. But I remember when folks said, I won't do anything until we get into the 5s. Well, now folks are really doing things because you're either part of this or you're not. Right? I mean, you're either gonna be able to buy a home or you're not. And if you're not buying a home, where's the #1 source of wealth creation in the United States?
Ownership.
Home ownership, right? And so I understand that no one likes the interest rates where they are. I'm totally down with that. But don't talk yourself out of this idea that there's still folks that want and need housing, right? We have to understand that moving forward, yes, we are gonna be seeing some relief on the interest rate front. It's not going back to 4s, Yes, ma'am.
Question about the interest rate, when they buy now, is there a scale that they use to dictate the pricing on what they charge?
So we got a question on how does a buy down
Sharon?
work and how much does a buy down cost? Sharon, you want to come up and talk to us for a quick second? Because, the other thing I wanted to kind of throw out here is that there are some things that we can do here. And so it's good for you to be up here. We're going to talk about all these things. So one of the things is like, we definitely have DPA programs, right? It doesn't affect, I can't control finding or giving somebody a lower rate. I might be able to point them towards new construction, but I can maybe point them towards different down payment program options. We also have the 100% down, 0 down FHA program coming on right now. And so it's one of those where I want you to understand that there are options that we do have, and having a lender that's going to help you with these kind of things is crucial. So we had a question about how much does a buy down cost?
Buy down, it's,
Well, first explain what a buy down is.
it just depends on whatever, it depends on the sales price and it depends on the rates for the day as to how many you can do. Typically, rule of thumb is just under 3 that you yourself, a buyer, can do. A seller can buy it down, doesn't matter. They can buy it down 5 points if they want to. But for us, for y'all, for your buyers, they can buy it down just under 3. It's a worksheet, and it's you have to put the numbers in there, and the system lets you know if it's it's gonna pass QM, which is
Qualified
qualified
mortgage.
mortgage. And if it's not gonna pass it, if it doesn't pass it, then you've got to go down and go, to a lower amount and buy it down. So there's no canned way to tell you how to do it, because I have to do it in the system.
Well,
But-
it's gonna be dependent on the price of the property, it's gonna be dependent on their credit score, someone with a really great credit score is gonna be a different number on there kind of thing. I mean, we used to have some rules of thumb, but all those got thrown out of the window now. And so,
What I'm trying to just.
She's trying to get an average number for points or.
I would say 2.75. You'd probably be pretty comfortable with 2.5 or 2.75 points.
well, but how much is that gonna cost on a $400,000 house ballpark?
Probably $5,000 or $6,000.
Okay. So if you wanna buy down the rates,
How many?
Okay, let's say, for example, we're in our interest rate, let's do even numbers,
She said
okay?
2.7.
No, I think that's okay, so let's use a scenario, $400,000, credit score 700, okay, I'm using round numbers. And we wanna buy down some points, so at $5,000 contribution, what are we looking at? Our interest rate now?
Is the contribution coming from the
It can-
seller?
it
It
can come
can-
from anyone.
So the buyer has a right to buy points as well,
Which
okay?
is limited.
But it's limited, and when you say points, I don't think they understand that, so you have to explain in limits term. All right, right now, that the, yeah, so it's 6 point right now, so if I buy down, let's say it cost me $5,000.
Yeah.
What is that?
Because it
Interest
doesn't
rate.
actually, the thing about it, it's hard to explain without you seeing the rate sheet. I can't with that with pricing. But when you say buy points down, you're not buying it from 7 to a 4 or 7 to a 3. You're buying it by the eighth decimals is what you're doing. It's going down from 7 to maybe 6 and 7/8 or 6.875.
2.75
Or
is
6
not a.
Yeah, it's not a true point.
A full interest rate points is by decimal.
Right, it's just by
That's
little
right.
bitty bits.
Right.
And those rates went from 7 all the way down to just say 6.25. It's costing money. There's a price for the rate.
So what you're saying in reality is you pay $5,000 for a quarter of a point.
Basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you got, I knew that, that is
It's not
jaw
worth it.
dropping, I'm telling you, that's jaw dropping. But if you calculate that interest rate over the 30-year loan, that $5,000 nothing, right?
Yeah, you
Right.
can see it.
You're correct.
But this is why we're seeing a lot of folks, instead of doing a complete rate buy down, that's gonna do a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 buy down, where they're buying down the rate for the first 2 years by a certain amount, then they're buying down the rate by the next year, another percentage down, and then it'll go to the average rate. And the whole intention there is that they're gonna refinance later on. So you have multiple types of buy downs. It's not just, you can buy down the entire rate for the entire term of the loan, or I can buy down the rate for the first 2 years, or the first year, or those kind of things.
But you can.
Lots of questions, so yeah.
But you can only buy it down a quarter.
On the
No,
buyer
If
can
you want to
buy
keep
up
spending
to
money,
point,
you can buy.
yeah.
2.75. So just say it's
For buyer.
2.75. I say points. It's not points. It's decimals basically.
It's 0.275 that buyer can buy down from 6%.
Right.
Okay.
That may be
But
$25,000.
The seller can buy down any amount. This is why the builder is able, it's okay, right? So in order for me to get to a 4.75%, the builder may have to come up with $15,000. That's the difference, okay? So for that extra 2.25% of an interest rate, builder may have to come up anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 to buy that rate down because the investor, or more. So I'm just
But
using.
the
it
buyer
for
can
their-
do that too, but they can't buy an unlimited amount.
Okay,
Right.
what I'm saying is if I ask the seller on a
Correct.
resale, I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of him getting that 3.5% for closing costs, can we say, hey, instead of paying that, can you buy down this rate?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Seller can buy down as much as they want.
See, that's why a lot of my agents, a lot of
That's
my,
what I needed to know.
yeah, a lot of my Max One agents, I've got one in particular, they'll get 6% every time on an FHA loan. She'll get the max every single time. So we
Seller
can go in,
contribution.
we can go in and buy that rate down from 7.25.
I didn't know that there was a difference between a seller and a buyer's buyout.
Yeah.
This is why you're being educated.
All right, Jasmine, you had a question earlier on, so.
Just a little comment, so, like, discount points, everybody knows what that means. I just want to make sure, and then don't forget about the limits for each loan, so, you know, what you said,
FHA 6,
Yeah.
conventional is only 3%.
So on a loan of $300,000, 6% is what, 18? Right?
Yep.
So you can ask the seller to contribute $18,000 in closing costs and use part of that as a buy down rate for your buyer.
Gotcha.
And we've been able, at 6%, I've been able to buy rate down and pay closing costs. We've basically had it where the buyers can get their earnest money.
Right.
Yeah, because my clients cannot go.
I know, this is how you play with the mathematics, okay? But you also gotta have a motivated seller.
Make sure
I'm
you
sorry,
repeat the
he
question
said-
before you answer.
Okay,
When you're doing your like I said, when you're doing your contracts and this just came to light for me with a loan the other day and it was stupid because I do it every month. So, but anyway, this closer, she said you have to have an amendment to the contract saying that, you're using
Okay.
the seller concessions for points
Okay.
and closing costs. I said, I've never heard of it. I said, I'm not arguing with you, but I said, I just closed 3 last month with 6% for FHA and they'd have to have that in an amendment. And she said, well, the state of Georgia requires it. I went, okay, never mind. So just,
just remember, not all lenders are equal and
Right.
not every underwriter understands the guideline. And every lender has their own interpretation of what Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and what the loan type is.
so just let that be general, that, you know, if they're gonna pay 6% or 3% or 5%, whatever, make sure you include, they're gonna pay points and closing costs for that money.
Okay,
Make-
Okay, 2 questions.
Okay,
One.
You've been very
Sharon,
patient.
How long do you think someone would have to, own a house on this loan with buying points down for it to be worth it to them and help them save money?
All right, so the question is, how long would they have to stay in it to be, to where buying points down would make sense?
Have to sit and, I'd have to sit and do the math, yeah,
It's on
to tell you
how
how many months, but it just depends, but depending on what the payment was with the buy down. Compared to what it would be at 7.25, just say it's $300, just say that's the difference in the payment. You'd have to take $300 times 12 times whatever, go just
A year.
right.
doing the numbers to see how many years you think you're gonna stay there. Say, okay, I'm gonna be here 5 years. Is it worth it for me to do that?
Okay,
Now, the average homeowner thinks that they're gonna be in their home 15 years, just FYI.
and at that point, it would be way worth it for them, usually.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, second question, so buyers have a limit on how many discount points they can get, sellers don't. Can you stack those? Like, can a buyer
Yes.
get points on as well as a seller?
Can we?
So the question is, can a buyer and a seller both
Yes,
contribute towards the discount points on the borrower's loan?
yes.
Yes, they can.
So it could be like buyer up to their max and then some seller.
So yeah, the buyer could throw out $5,000-$10,000, the seller could do another $5,000 or $10,000. Either way, at the end of the day, it's just to help, those discount points, which reduces the overall monthly payment for the client.
Did you say the seller buying down points is cheaper?
No,
No,
it's the
seller
same for either
has,
one. Right.
seller does not have any limitation on the buy down points.
Okay.
Buyer can only buy down up to 2.75 of a percent. That's the difference. So can you stack them? Yes, absolutely.
All this comes with having a really good lender partner. You've gotta, you need to know the information that you're talking about. You want that lender is somebody that's a partner with you and your client. Because that's how you get these deals to come through. And so it starts by having that initial consultation where you talk to your client and we have to ask, there's been a trend lately where agents don't want to ask, how much down payment do you have to buy your home? I need to know that as a realtor, I need to know that. But, we need to, but like the 3 of us have got to get together to figure out how we're going to structure this the offer so that it's the best offer that we can make for our client. Again, our clients are being really creative. We can also be really creative, whether we're talking down payment, buying down points, new construction. We have a lot of options, but you gotta bring all the players in here. And that lender is gonna make you or break you.
And you can do down payment assistance and for points to be bought down, and we do it every month.
And I'm thinking this isn't, my clients make too much money.
Well, not necessarily.
For DPA,
Good news. There's,
I asked, do you have 100% FHA?
good news.
And I tried to find USDA homes for them to purchase. There's none.
This loan, this is my favorite DPA, and I don't have any favorite DPAs, but this is my favorite one. It is, well, if you're gonna like one, this is a good one.
Okay,
It's it's 100%. It's a first and a second. The first is 30-year fixed. The second is a 10-year amortized second. The payment average is around 100, 120, depending on the sales price. But the average is on 100 or the loan amount, $100 to $120 a month, in addition to what your first payment would be. The rates are higher with DPA's rates are already gonna be high. They're not gonna be higher than what your normal rate is for the market. It's 600 mid score. There are no income limits.
And she has a 7+.
There's no income limits there. It's primary residences only. The first mortgage locked at a market comparable rate and a 3.5% down payment assistance is issued for the second.
I love the no income limits. Normally, that's one of the biggest barriers for a lot of our
DPA.
clients to be able to take advantage of a DPA program. Is they make too much money to qualify for it.
Yeah, there's no, this doesn't affect area median income, the AMI. It doesn't affect, it's nothing. It's no income
Yeah,
limit.
that was my next question.
And it don't matter how much money you got in the bank.
Yeah,
Okay, but
you can have 100 grand in your
the
bank.
insurance.
I'm not ever saying that now, but there might be an exception to
yeah,
that.
you still have mortgage insurance, you know, you've always had.
You always got mortgage insurance.
You
for
have
FHA.
mortgage insurance on an FHA, the term of the loan.
So how long was the second? Is it 10 years?
10 years.
10 years and it can be paid off anytime with no down
3.5% is
payment,
gonna
with
be
no
for 10
prepayment.
years.
It's just.
Yeah, if they get a bonus and they can pay it.
Yes.
So again, we have options. That's the thing, you know, we know that the market is challenging in a lot of ways. We know that property values are not going down. We know that interest rates are gonna be sticky. So what can we do to make as big of an impact on the lives of our buyers as possible? This is one of those things, and having that kind of relationship. We've got to be really, really creative. And what we're seeing right now is the folks who are being really creative and really aggressive about these things, guess what they're doing? They're selling a ton of houses, right? And the folks who say they're selling a ton of houses, the folks who say, you know, interest rates are high, I can't sell houses, or, you know, property values are high, I can't, nobody's buying. The folks who tell themselves that, the market is eating them up. For the folks who are rocking, we have some folks who are having their absolute best years ever. Yes, ma'am.
Have you heard of the Wish Grant?
The what?
Wish grant?
Wish Grant.
Oh, it sounds made up, so I don't
So-
know.
It's like,
I have no idea what a wish
it's-
grant
a
is.
lot of people will publish all these grants and all these CPA. The thing you have to watch out for is that little string that's attached to it,
Yeah.
okay? Because a lot of it are income based, if not geographically based, just like USDA.
All of these here,
Um,
all of these here except this one, the Essex, the 100% FHA, all are income based households. So if Julie Joe's babysitting, they're counting that too. And then if grandma lives with you with disabilities or social security, they count that too. So they count everything. So, but all these things are income based and all of them are, yeah, credit score, you know, you gotta have 640 credit scores on most of them. And a lot of people need down payments since they ain't got 640 credit. This can go down to a 600.
Seriously.
yes, that's why she likes that law.
The only negative about it, if there is a negative, is people's debt to income ratios. I had one closed a week ago that her debt back end was 96.925. And it can't go past the 57 or it won't take it.
Yeah.
So we closed that loan Monday week ago with that high back end. And so a lot of people have a lot of debt because they have student loans. And then you have to count 0.5 or half of the total balance toward the debt to income ratios. A lot of people have alimony and child support. A lot of people have, what kind of issues they've got. The back end cannot be, when I say debt to income, that's the debt divided into income, can't be over a 50. So that's the only
What if
thing.
y'all think about it, if you have a 50% debt to income, you don't leave a whole lot of money for grocery, utilities and essentials, you know? So, you know, the thing we have to look at is, you know, what can we do to either find a cheaper house, or they need to they need to just save us some more money.
Also, how many times have I told y'all, all these programs right here, except this one, takes 45 to 60 days to close. This one will close in 30 days and you can eat this month. The others, you better wait a month or two. Yep.
Now, is every, does every lender have that program or is?
I don't know.
Does every lender have the program is a question, we're not sure. So,
We do though.
yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, all right. Yep, very good. All right, well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate the sharing.
And that's,
So-
the FHA down payment, you guys should get a handout of that. If you don't, we will email you.
Yeah.
We will send an email to
Yeah.
the memberships.
All right, we want to jump over and I want to talk about 4 facts happening in our marketplace.
I'll send a message. Yeah, I tried. I didn't want to.
Hello.
What?
That was
Sorry, we had a question in Carrollton. Which down payment assistance closes in 30 days?
The
The
Essex,
100% FHA.
that's the Essex, right?
Yes.
ESSEX.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I got 4 facts I kind of want to run by you right now. And, you know, this, especially in light of what's happened with the challenges and the accusations as part of the lawsuit, you know? Ever since this lawsuit's come out, people are saying, you know what, agents steer their clients, and steering's illegal, and so, we went in and, you know, there was some analysis done, and so, do we steer clients to properties with higher commission rates? No, well, but it's very nice when we can actually back that data up, and so went in and dug through all through the MLS and compared properties that sell with high interest, with high co-op commissions and lower co-op commissions. And so you would think if agents were steering, that all the properties with the highest commissions would sell when? Really fast. Is that the case? No, it isn't the case, right? And so I'm not saying that, you know, offering a co-op isn't important, but do we steer our clients to that? No, we don't. It helps with the exposure for sure. It gets more eyes looking on there kind of thing. And so like the data shows that a higher commission does not necessitate a faster sale on there, because there's a lot of factors that kind of go into that. So what makes properties sell longer? Price, age, size, and location, right? That's well, but when you look at the data points as far as what causes a property to sell fast, what's number 1? Price. Like, if it's out there priced right, that's the big kicker. And so, yes, commissions are definitely a factor for our buyers, right? Because they need representation and they don't have the money up front. We're gonna talk more about that. But it's not the offer of buyer compensation. So, next, one other factor that we heard is
Yeah.
that
We're
we're
making-
causing property values to escalate, that we're part of we're the
We're part of the
inflation factor.
problem.
Yep. And so do we drive home prices up? No. So there is no correlation between compensation and list price. Because if that was the case, you would figure that the higher the compensation, the higher the list price, right? And there's no data that backs that up either. I mean, like what sets why are property values appreciating? Right now? Well, I mean, we have definitely inflation's a factor, but it's supply versus demand is the big kicker there. You know, third one is listings on MLS. And the reason I want to talk about this is we don't do in-house exclusive listings. We firmly believe that they need to be on there. And I want you to understand that private networks and what's called pocket listings are bad. They're bad for our industry, they're bad for our economy. And not only that, they're kind of shown to discriminate in the housing market. So we don't do those. And you know, pocket listings are already illegal in Georgia. Some states do allow it, kind of thing. But like off-market listings hurts your clients is the bottom line. Because there's been some talk about doing, because of all these challenges with the lawsuits, well then I just won't list it on the MLS. Is that good for your clients?
No.
No. Nope. Fourth fact. Home buyers value us. We are really, really important in the transaction. We have to understand that. So they went through and said, you know, when you buy a home, you should definitely have someone who represents your interest during the process. And this is just overall, 76% said absolutely you should. And so like is buyer agency and our agents going away? No, we're more important than ever, honestly.
And just point out on the second half is buying a home, something you can do mostly on your own, perhaps with a lawyer. Different state have different rules. Certain state, they're not attorney closing state like we have here. So in the real estate agent actually do more than here in Georgia. So there are some like investors, they have their own form. Matter of fact, I saw one this week.
Yeah.
It was horrible because they target people that are distressed, don't know what the value of the property is. And guess what they did? They basically named themselves as attorney in fact for that property. And not only that, they put 60 business day. Y'all, that's almost 4 months. Okay, and so when the seller doesn't understand what they're looking at, they just think 60 days. All right, 2 months, we're out. No, it's 4 months term. So.
Yeah. The quotes which kept coming up from the folks in this study. One, it's important for me to have a professional help me so I don't make a huge mistake. Whether it's the first home you buy or the 10th home you buy, it's probably the most expensive asset that you've had. Do you do that with no representation? No. And then because the process can have its challenges, I'd rather have someone with experience helping me. Does that not make sense? Yeah. So I want you to feel really confident about that. Like you know, agency is not going away.
Even if they're experienced buyers and seller, I can tell you, when you compare a Florida market versus Georgia or California market, it's a different market. And not only that, it may be 5 years since you sold or bought. We have changed. The locality of the area that you're looking at have changed. We can't just go in there and demand everything and repairs and thinking it's gonna fly when we got a hot market.
Yeah.
That's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
So yes, it is. You know, this is part of you guys know your work and express that to your clients. So they understand that it's not as simple as they think. And there's a lot of data on the internet they can look up. They can educate themselves.
Well, and that's really my next point here is that our overall consumers don't think that the real estate portals are a replacement for us. And this is really important, right? Can Zillow replace us? Can Redfin, Realtor.com, that kind of stuff. The consumers, they see the value in the convenience side of that, but they don't trust it. Who do they trust? Us. They trust us, right? And the reason I bring that up, that leads me directly into this. So if it hasn't hit your email yet, it will. Zillow's new touring agreement helps agents stay ahead of the NAR settlement. That sounds like a huge benefit for us, doesn't it? Wrong, okay? Who do you think this is gonna benefit? Zillow, say it loud, say it really, really loud. This is for Zillow, okay?
I know somebody that bought a house off of Zillow's sight unseen. And they did everything over the internet, but when they actually went to see the house, the whole back was off.
Well,
So this is a
Buyer's
comment
split.
from one agent that a buyer bought everything
Oh, what house you talking about?
from Zillow, sight unseen, and what happened was that the picture that was presented
Right.
versus what it was two different things. Not only that, the back end of the house, the siding was off upon purchase.
well, but you know, it's always beautiful on the front, right? We will catfish a real estate photo in a second.
Dog sale, you buy the car, they got sale first.
Yeah. Well, but we gotta understand that like Zillow's touring agreement that they're sending out, if it's not in your email yet, it will be, okay? I've gotten 4 of these emails so far. It's on a lot of the real estate news sites, that kind of stuff. They're touting this as a huge benefit for you, and it's not.
They're
And-
capturing your.
we're gonna talk
client's
about
database.
fire agency here in a second, like when you look at this here. Like Zillow's touring agreement is only good for Zillow. Because Zillow's touring agreement makes you somebody that just opens the door for free. And does that sound like the kind of, what we wanna be doing with our buyers today? Zillow wants that they control the entire process and you just come and open a door for them. Isn't that good for Zillow?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, but Zillow, right now, Zillow's revenue is at $3 billion. They're predicting in 2 years to have an increase of revenue to $5 billion. Where's that additional revenue coming from?
Off your back.
Of us, right? So like, please don't think that this is here to help you on here. You know, they say that, you know, in here, that it, you know, it's a touring agreement kind of thing. It says, you know, what it will do, it says that we're not entering into any kind of agency in here,
Buyer has not signed exclusive.
so they're not a client of yours.
And
All you're
Zillow-
doing, all you are is the door opener.
So Zillow is really good about selling data back to us, right? That's how they made their money.
Yeah.
When they tried to flip property, guess what they did? They lost a ton of money. Where they're making money is referrals. So this is another way for them to capture
Yeah,
client data.
it's only good for 7 days. The buyer shall not owe or pay the broker any fee for touring services. And if they do want to, you're gonna have to enter into additional agreement kind of thing. Like, this regulates us to just a door opener. This is a horrible place for us to be. If you wanna see our industry go by the wayside, let Zillow control this narrative that all we are, the only thing that we know, that we do is just open doors. And is that really the only thing that we do?
No.
We do so much more. And so we need to stand up and understand that this is not a benefit to you in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, this takes all the care, concern, the hard work that we do and just throws it out the door. Sorry. somebody
So
had a
they're just trying to streamline their process. So in making us feel like this is all we do. In fact, we don't.
The fact that they're selling this as a benefit to me just irritates the daylights out of me, right? This is not to help us. This is only to help Zillow. And I don't want to help Zillow. You know with me? Okay, so let's talk about settlement. Right? There's,
By the way, only 24 to 25% of, what's the percent?
it's coming up.
Okay, sorry.
I'm shooting ahead.
All right, sorry. I'll let you talk.
33. So this is all, these are the millions of dollars that's been paid out by the settlement. And
Wow.
in the settlement, it says, you know, we don't admit any wrongdoing in here. Well, you have to understand that real estate in Georgia and real estate where this lawsuit was filed, it's not the same real estate. This happened in Missouri. In Missouri, if you offered if you offered a listing agent compensation, you had to offer an equal amount for the selling agent. I mean,
Now,
for the
what's
buyer's
their
agent.
listing agreement?
That was in their agreement. They were forcing the sellers to pay both commissions irregardless.
Right.
And is that right?
No.
No, therefore they lost, right? All these things got wrapped up in that. And so that's really where but here in Georgia,
That's not how we practice.
our sellers have always been able to offer no co-op. Now, it wouldn't help them. It's not a smart move, but they weren't forced to. In these instances, they were forced to. That's why they ended up settling, because it's wrong. What? Yeah, well, we do, but in other states,
Well,
that's why
this
so
is-
many other states are going nuts.
This is,
Because these other states, they could force them into it. That's not the case here. Yeah.
Right, this is why different states practice differently. Different states have different license law. So if you're not up to your license law in the state you practice, you might want to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So because it started in Missouri, everybody want to be a copycat in a lawsuit.
What?
But they don't look at our contract and what it says.
Our guard contract said that you won't be part of a class action lawsuit anyway,
Yep.
which all the
Is that
sellers
protected?
signed it to, right? Yeah. All right, so let's talk about what is our newest information going forward? So they just released this past week that everything's gonna go into effect starting August 17th. So we have 3 months before any real changes come down the pipe, right? So like right now, the contracts that we have, are they 100% valid? Yes, there's really no changes other than the ideas in our client's head. So we have 3 months. There will be additional changes coming down the road. But with 3 months to go, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, we'll worry about it later. And that's kind of where we're at on a lot of things. Now, the other thing that they announced this past week is that it's the MLS job to enforce the new rules. So if you show a buyer a property without getting a buyer brokerage agreement, then you're gonna get kicked out of the MLS basically. Now, they're gonna be the ones who are in charge of enforcing this. And we know that, you know, we need our MLSs, so that's gonna be the hammer and where that comes in here.
And unfortunately, you have to tell your client, I can't show you any houses prior to signing a brokerage agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was like my thought when you pulled up the article on, when you put up the article about Zillow, like how can Zillow say, oh, you can show these houses, but as realtors, we have to get that agreement signed.
We do, but that agreement fulfills that short term and it says that there's no money. It is an agreement.
So how would they?
Basically,
I
you
know,
get it for
but
free,
right? Who's that good for?
Right.
It's
Zillow.
good for Zillow. So now we know that the agent is gonna have to sign some sort of an agreement with a buyer prior to showing any house, right? And so we can use a customer acknowledgement form, which is basically what that Zillow agreement is, right? It has to have commission spelled out, which it did. It said there was no commission due, that kind of stuff. It can be exclusive or non-exclusive. It can be for a specific time frame for a specific property. It's not necessarily if we're using our Keep Lease system, you don't have to worry about that for there.
because
Open
that
houses-
agent who referred you to the key system already had a buyer
Should have
brokerage
that, yeah.
agreement, okay? That's why it's not required for that.
Now, open houses are gonna be a challenge because there's 2 ways to do open houses. You as a listing agent where you solely represent the seller can do an open house and not require any signatures. But if you're doing an open house and you're trying to represent buyers, then you're gonna have to have an agreement signed before you can show those properties. And we're working on getting some of these forms done. I mean, we got months to get them done, but these kind of things are coming down the road.
They're going to actually.
How they gonna know?
How are they gonna know?
They may require broker,
Well-
not flow brokerage agreement as part of the documentation.
So.
What's
Well,
it
it's been like, they're gonna, I mean, there's talk right now. We don't know all the details, right? We said we have 3 months to go. But
Right,
so far, it's gonna be, don't submit an offer and then have you have to have the timestamp and the date on the buyer brokerage agreement prior to submitting an offer. Because if it's not, then you won't qualify. Then you're gonna get kicked out of the MLS. So I don't know exactly, none of us know right now.
I can tell you right now, it's gonna be a system change on MLS. If they're gonna enforce it, now, this only applied to NAR member MLSs. FMLS is not
Well,
a
we don't
NAR
know yet.
member. So we don't know what the procedure and policy for them, but I'm sure we'll get something in the pipeline
Yeah.
between now and August
Yeah, our
17th.
agent again, we have 3 months, right? So we can't get stressed out about the details right now because we just don't have it. What we're doing is trying to prepare you for what those changes are gonna be. When we have more details, like we talked about this last month, what did we know? We know some more information this month. Guess what we're gonna talk about next month?
We'll talk about
More
this
details
again.
than we have, right? Exactly, we're going ahead here. So,
Yes, Jasmine.
yes, ma'am.
As it relates to like buyer commission.
Uh-huh.
And we have, so not DBAs, are just across the board.
It's okay. Actually, that's something well addressed.
Okay. 'cause-
Okay, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's,
hold on 1 second.
you're ahead.
Give us a minute.
What is?
it's okay. We'll address in a minute.
All right,
Just hang
so.
tight.
So anyway, we know we're gonna have to start having an HC agreement in advance before we show properties. Also, the co-op fees are not gonna be allowed to be in the MLS nor in the
Private
private
remarks.
remarks. I'm sorry, public remarks.
But it can be.
It will be able to be attached as a document.
So
So
upload the
instruction
condition agreement.
to instruction to closure. It can be listed on the broker's website, marketing, there's talk about it maybe being part of showing time. It may be part of, there's several platforms that we could utilize to be able to share this kind of information out. FMLS is not owned by NAR, so FMLS as it stands right now, FMLS is like, I'm not doing anything. I do believe that they're gonna follow whatever the industry does, we just don't know what that is, again, we have several months to go.
So the.
Will
best
this be a
part-
change for it? Yeah,
The
absolutely.
best part is go ahead, attach it as a document. Now, if you have a variable rate, what that means is that if sellers say, I'm set at $400,000. If you bring me offer less than 400, then the rate's gonna change. And so that's, that's where you need to put in private remarks that the rate's gonna change if it's less than full price offer. Okay, but that all need to be negotiated out before it goes pending, because once the property is pending, you cannot alter anyone's commission.
So. All these things coming about, only 37% of your clients have even heard of the lawsuit. That doesn't mean how many are impacted by it kind of thing. But about a third of your clients have even heard of a lawsuit. Just in talking to our friends, our acquaintances, that kind of stuff, they're like, I heard something about it on the news, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Is it something I need to worry about? No, not really. But this is causing us to have a lot more conversation. And we need to be able to take and control these conversations. Because if we aren't having these conversations, guess who's gonna have them? Zillow and Redfin and all these other kind of
Everybody
things out there.
else, and misinformation
Yeah.
on top of it.
Exactly. So I want us to be looking at working with buyers and working with sellers. So we want to kind of talk to you about with your buyers, what's your value proposition? One thing that we're going to have to do that's going to be a big change for a lot of folks. You've got to have them, you have to have a buyer brokerage signed prior to meeting with them. So now when do you have to meet with your buyers? Now you got to meet with buyers ahead of time now. So we gotta be having meetings in offices, meeting at Chick-fil-A, meeting at their house, that kind of stuff.
Or Zoom.
But for so many of us in the past, it's like, I'll see you at the house, right? I'll meet you at the address, that kind of stuff. Can we do that moving forward?
Before you go in, maybe?
Well, but see, what I want to really recommend is that we go through and start treating our buyers the way we have for our sellers for years, right? If I have an appointment to list your home, I'm gonna meet with you. We're gonna talk about your goals, your aspirations, what's important to you, timeframes. We're gonna go through, you're gonna show me your house. We're gonna go through all that. I'm gonna explain all the value I bring to the situation. I'm gonna go through, these are all the things I'm going to market your home. This is everything that you can count on me for, boom, 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 boom. These are all the services I provide. And then these are the fees that I charge. And then I'm gonna have a listing agreement signed. And at that point, it's everything in the right way. In the past, it would just be with our buyers, it would just be like, hey, I see you there, here, sign this. And when we look at the numbers, the data, buyers don't know who's paying, who's being represented, who represents them. They have no idea what's going on. We need to meet with them in advance and start treating our buyers the same way we have our sellers. So we have to show value before we actually go out and just get a buyer brokerage agreement signed. I don't want it, I see problems for us, for the agents that just try and here.
Just in time.
Sign this form and I'll show you a house, you're gonna have a hard time. For the folks who sit down and provide value in advance, you're gonna excel in this marketplace.
Well, it's gonna distinguish the difference between a professional versus someone that are just doing this. And not to harp on some of the part-timers, but they have a full-time job, so their time is very limited. But this forces them actually have to sit down via Zoom with their client either after hour, before hour, or during the weekend, whatever it is. to have a consultation, because the one that does not have a consultation, they're gonna find that their client's gonna be very dissatisfied and find someone else.
Well, and they're also not gonna know what's going on in our marketplace. So,
Correct.
you know, the other thing that we gotta have a buyer consultation, right? And so to do that, and this has been in Pepperell's pipeline for about a month or so. And so we have a buyer's guide that we encourage you to print it off. It's only has maximum one on there, so it's there for you to use. In there where you go through it, these are all the services I provide. These are the fees I charge. I want to show you in particular one page that we find that where we need to have the most conversation about is the fact that how do I negotiate who pays commission? I can only do that if we have an agreement. So can I submit an offer and include that commission on that offer? I can if you're my client. I can't for my benefit. I can for the buyer's benefit. That only happens because we have an agency relationship. Are y'all following me?
So if you
Like
don't have an agency relationship, you have no rights to ask for that commission.
Which is why we've got to have them in advance now. And so in here, we want to talk about the fact that in order for me to be able to negotiate, because the buyer does pay your commission, but other people can fund that. The buyer gets, you know, you're going to negotiate what your commission is with your buyer, but will the seller pay? Maybe. Will the buyer pay? Maybe. Can it be part of closing costs? I mean, there's lots of options that we have. But I can go and discuss those options and we can present those options and we can structure our offers so long as we have a client relationship. So it starts with making sure that I'm able to negotiate for you because we have to have an agency relationship. Then these are the fees I charge, and then who can cover the commission? Right? We need to be right up front because the buyer does pay it, but there's many people that can actually fund that fee. Right? My agreement's gonna be with you. You get to, we negotiate, you know, these are the services I provide, these are the fees I charge. Now, who's gonna pay that? What can we do? Who can pay, who can pay for the buyer's agent commission? Well, the seller can pay some or all, right? We can request the seller to pay before even viewing a property. We can request the seller to pay as part of the offer to the purchase. It could be paid by the buyer. We can negotiate in the sales price for the seller to cover. And depending on mortgage type, we might be able to include it as part of closing costs. We have a lot of options there. And so again, if we have an agency relationship and you decide, we negotiate what my commission is going to be, now we just get to decide who's going to pay that. Who's going to fund that fee? Y'all with me? This is why we wanted to give you a tool to use. When you go on that buyer's appointment, if you don't, you know, you can make your own, but if you don't have one, please steal and use this one. It's here, like I've been very intentional about trying to build this. So it gives you a way that you come across in a very professional manner, prepared and equipped to be able to have these conversations. Because we're having these conversations right now. We need to have them moving forward.
Well, it's gonna make you a lot more comfortable when you're having a conversation, because the more conversation like this you have, the more, a lot smoother you're gonna be.
Yep.
Okay, but it's the first time you're having this conversation, you're probably gonna stumble a little bit. So grab a partner or someone that will spend a little bit of time with you and vice versa and practice over them.
Now,
Okay.
one of the things we wanted to talk about was how do we address buyer's commission obligation?
This is your question.
And so this is in response to Jasmine heavily, just to make sure that we got it right. And so per this agreement, we get to, we negotiate with our buyers how much our commission is gonna be, right? However, what do you do when you offer, when you list new construction and they're offering a bonus?
Yeah, especially D.R. Horton, every property you buy is $1,000 on top of the previous purchase for bonuses.
Yeah.
So at any point, I don't see our commission ever go up to 10% of the sale price,
It could be.
but it could at some point. But if you feel like, you know, your industry that you're targeting, so you know what that structure is. So if you think you're gonna go above 10% sale price, then you might want to up that number, but 9 out of 10, 10 is a safe number. The problem with splitting this is that it's too defined. That makes sense? And so I just like to use overall, and if a buyer look at you, and say, you're getting 10% of of the sale, I said, that's a unicorn. You know, 9 out of 10 is not.
Well, but if, you know, this is there because if our agreement says that I can get 2.5%, and then that seller is offering 2.5% or 3% or a bonus, I can't get a penny more than that 2.5% that I've agreed to, unless you write something like this into your,
Buyer brokerage agreement.
yeah, into your. game
So
agreement.
this will be uploaded after today's meeting in reference section. Look for buyer special step. Okay? And increased commission and bonuses. So we'll put that up. This one just came out today, just so you know. So we will upload that.
Does that make sense? Again, what we're trying to do is prepare you for these changes. We know we have months to go, but let's start looking at these things now and go ahead and jump ahead. Now, the one where we do see that we've really got to be getting here is working with our sellers. Because even though the lawsuit doesn't impact for 3 months, our sellers are already saying, do I have to pay a commission? Like right now, they're asking, and in Georgia, do you have to? No, in Georgia, you don't have to, right? So, but is it done? And so, just like with our buyers, we have to have a value proposition that we're presenting forward to our sellers on here. You know, are you gonna recommend that your seller offers a buyer co-op? Well, but like, you have to understand that the way the contracts are written, like the new GAR contract, even the one right now, it says, are you sure? Like you don't have to pay a commission. Are you sure you really want to pay a commission kind of thing? And so we have to explain why that's either a good idea or not. You know, concessions are gonna have to be part of our conversation out here. We have to also make sure that our sellers know about 32% of our buyers are first-time buyers. 18% roughly are VA buyers. Therefore, half your buyers can't afford or can't pay a buyer's agent commission.
Well, it's basically affordability. So
Yeah.
at that point, you basically put the affordability out of the buyer's hand.
You know, as a listing agent, here's another conversation that we have to be ready for. Are you ready to work with an unrepresented buyer? What are you gonna do if that buyer comes and is unrepresented? Are you gonna do that for free? Well, I mean, like you have to have, are you, again, these are new conversations that we've not had to have in the past. And so now if you talk to a seller like, well, I don't want to offer a commission. Well, if we don't offer a commission, what happens when that buyer comes? Now you're gonna represent that buyer for free? You're gonna represent the seller as a client, you're gonna represent the buyer as a customer. But what about all that additional liability that comes? This is a big concern, I feel, moving forward right now. Because we're already starting to see some hints of this coming on. My prediction is that we're gonna see a lot of challenges with buyers who are customers suing agents. Because we already had, I mean, just last, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we had a seller who told their listing agent, because the listing agent was attracted a buyer, and so the seller went to the listing agent and said, I sure hope they don't do an inspection. Can you recommend they don't do an inspection? Well,
I always recommend my clients.
I know, but the seller is always the client.
The buyer's.
The buyer's the customer. You have a buyer customer for your listing, and you have a seller client, and the seller says, can you recommend that they don't do a home inspection?
Oh, no. So like,
Well, like, you know, like, there's definitely, I mean, I think it's unethical.
Kodak
Again,
ethics.
we're seeing these kind of issues happen. What happens when you represent that buyer as a customer, and then a year later they say, we found radon in this property.
And nobody told us about radon.
And you didn't tell me about radon, and now we're getting drugged into court.
But
Well,
you still gotta
it's
protect it.
Huh?
Ministerial.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, we're gonna be adding some new steps in places and processes in for when we have a buyer and as a client, and a seller is, seller's a client, buyer's a customer. These will be coming new changes, but when you're talking to your sellers, what I want to talk about now, so just hold on for a minute. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like that. I'm just trying to get, I want to get through it all. We have to be able to have these conversations, but whereas the buyer conversations are going to be much more important in the months moving ahead, right? Because nothing's really changed. Our sellers are asking us these questions right now. They're already, because in Georgia, we didn't have to offer a buyer's co-op already. We're already having buyers say, I don't want to do it. And so how do you have that conversation without sounding greedy, sounding like you're steering, sounding like you're trying to cost them money? That's what we want to make sure that we are. You know, how are you, what are you gonna do about sign calls that calls on your property? Are you gonna offer a package deal if you do represent the buyers on there? And so we went out, and so we have to be able to have this conversation about what if your seller doesn't want to offer co-op? Are you prepared to have that conversation? Because we see that most listing agents are not ready for this conversation. They're getting caught up and hung up on here. Experienced agents are having a hard time with this. So because this has never been part of the narrative that we've had to do in the past. Like most of our sellers, there was a small percentage, a really small percentage, and now we're having more and more clients. And I understand, if I don't have to pay, do I want to pay? No. All right, well then explain to me why I should. That's what we have to do. And so the seller's not obligated to pay a co-op commission, but we have to be honest about it, right? And so we have to talk about what, we saw earlier, is agent representation essential? Yes, it is. And so without it, the number of buyers seeing your property is going to be a lot less. Because, will the buyer agent now know that seller doesn't value them? Yeah. A lot of our buyers don't have cash to pay at closing. Many buyers won't afford it because they can't afford it right up front. Most of the time when they bought that home, this is exactly how they purchased that home. And when they buy their next home, are they not going to have that same expectation as well? Or are they planning on paying that moving forward? Yeah, our VA buyers can't physically pay the commission. They're not allowed to as part of a VA loan. So it's not about being manipulative. It's about being honest. This is affordability, not manipulation. And so we went in and we've created a new seller guide for you. It's just like the buyer's presentation, only this is the seller's presentation. And so we go through, this is now in paperless pipeline. And so you can download this right this minute. And so I just want to walk you through with it really quickly here.
It is under listing presentation.
So we start off with, just the cover sheet. Then we have our timeline as far as what we go through on there. We go through, and first thing you want to do is make sure you're spending time bonding with your clients, talking about what are their goals, their plans, any challenges that they're seeing. And then we go through, this is how we're going to market your home, through email, networking, social media, that kind of stuff. Then we're going to go through all this, all the different things, MLS, signage, lockbox. We go through and make sure that the home is ready for photos and prep and all that. And then we have to start talking about price. And we saw earlier, what's the number one reason why a home sells quickly? Price. So we have to make sure that we're having really in-depth conversations about price. Now, what affects that? The market, competition, your timeline, and the condition of the home. That's what's going to affect those pricing factors in there. And so I like to look at, for years, we've always used the pricing pyramid in here because, if I list this property at market value, about 60% of the buyers are going to see your property. If you want me to raise that 10% more, now only 30% of the buyers are going to see this, are going to see your property. So we have to be able to do that. And then I want to be able to have a conversation about agent compensation. And so the first thing is, I'm able to go through and say, these are all the services that we've gone over. These are a lot of the services that I provide. I provide even more than that. And these are the fees that I charge. So this is where you want to say, these are the services I provide. These are the fees I charge. And then in here we say, do you have to pay the buyer's agent? You're not obligated. However, if you don't offer compensation, it may save you money if you're discounting the value of your property, or the number of buyers coming to look at your property is going to be a lot less. Many buyers can't afford it up front. Many buyers need to finance it in. Unrepresented buyers rarely close, and that's very true, and most offers are gonna include it anyway. And then if you do offer it, we're gonna attract more buyers, produce more showings, faster sale timeframes, more showings again, and then you don't pay unless the property sells.
So one's a pro, one's a con. So this is a pro, if you offer compensation. If you don't, these are what we're seeing as a professional. So back to the perfect storm, I had a listing where when I did my comp, the maximum amount that I came up with because of unique property was $8.99. And this is counting their square footage, proximity of the house of the neighborhood that's surrounded. Now, this property sits on 12 acres. So what I did, I comped it based on the square footage and then what a per acre that particular area is selling for. And that's how I got $8.99. So when we had a conversation, he said, yeah, my lender told me that I'll probably get my house for $1.2 million. And my jaw just dropped. Okay. And I'm like, you know what? Rather than leave money on the table, why don't we go get an appraisal? He agreed to appraisal. Because I told him, I said, listen, this is my comp, this is how I came up with my number. If you're not happy with it, let's get a professional in so we know exactly where your value is. So we're not listening too high or too low to where you're leaving money on the table. So the appraisal just came back. You want to take a guess where the appraisal came out? Huh? 900? Anybody else? Anybody else?
just said lower than your.
8? Anybody want to take a guess? 950, 700. It was a horrible appraisal. So he basically, appraiser took the comp of the property. Is like comparing Buckhead property versus Midtown. There is a price adjustment there because of location. And this appraiser went out 12 miles and it changed the dynamics in the county of the property. So there are just no comparison on that. But to vindicate that just really quick is that I also had the seller also told me, I don't want to, he's aware, he's an attorney, just so you know, he's aware of the NAR lawsuit and everything else, and he did not want to do a co-op commission. So I let him have it at the first conversation. The second conversation, we came back and I showed him printout of all the compensation that's being offered for a price point between 700,000 versus a 1.2 million, because that's the number the lender, no offense, had put on his mind, okay? And so, and it showed some of the commission were 4% to get it there. All right, the lowest is 2.5. So I told him, we can all start up 2 if you like, because I know, it's an attorney once again, there's no, but the interesting thing that he told me is that I want to have the right to say there's no co-op commission if they're gonna lowball me. So my counterback on that one was everything's negotiable. If they're gonna lowball you, then I'm gonna ask their buyer to pay for their commission. So either way, you're not losing out because by not offering that commission, you are throwing VA buyers out and some buyer who may afford your house at that price point.
But this is a conversation that we have to be ready to start having. In the past, we've really had, this has been a very rare conversation in past years. This is a much more normal conversation now. And we wanted to give you the tools to be able to have those conversations effectively, which is why why we have the new listing presentation. So you want to make sure you print this out, 2 copies of the exclusive seller listing agreement, all the other accoutrements that you might need in there kind of thing. But we wanted you to be able to have this so you had a good tool to be able to use moving forward. That make sense? All right, was there questions?
Anybody have questions on other locations, really quick?
Right.
I know we're in 30 minutes above our normal time, so I apologize, but we felt like this is important to cover.
All right, now we've been doing accountability on Mondays and we've been doing it in the offices. And so we're going to be changing things up. So accountability is every Monday morning at 9:30. Now, some of y'all are like, I don't want to get up at 9:30. Well, do you want to go sell real estate or not? You want to sell houses? Like part of that's about getting up and getting going kind of thing. And so we do this every Monday morning at 9:30. We do our real estate backstory where we kind of go over the weekly topics, what's happening in the real estate market, and then we jump into accountability. And so in there, we're gonna go over our accountability items, the things that we're trying to do every single week. And so everyone's gonna contribute on that. And then we go over a brief overview of what the top 50 program is. And then we review a new lead source every single week. We go through a KV core tip, and then we do a role play. And so we're making it where you can do it wherever you're at now. But I do want you to turn your cameras on. At least do your hair. So if you go to max1.rock/accountability, you'll be able to log in via Zoom. You can log in on your phone, you can log in on your tablet, laptop, all that kind of stuff. We're still gonna have these in office as well. So if you want to come into the office, we encourage you to do that. If you want to come and do these, right from where you are, but we are all gonna contribute. This is about helping us get into production. We want to help you and assist you. And I know a lot of us got into real estate because we didn't want to have a schedule. We didn't want to have to get up at 9:30 or 9 o'clock on Monday morning. But guess what? You want to be successful or not? You are your own small business. And so with a business, you need to have hours of operation. You need to have a schedule for what you're going to do. So please, I strongly encourage you to please join us.
All right, congratulations to our top producers. And these are the names. Kareem, good job.
Yeah, very, very good across the board. So now we're gonna go just to the local offices. And so the branch managers in your individual locations, they're gonna kind of take over at this point, and then we're gonna get our awards and do all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys very much. I'm sorry we ran a little bit over today, but I wanted to share this information with you. So we appreciate and love y'all. So thank you.
Really quick, on site location, if you have any question we didn't answer, let us know. You can text us, okay?
Text, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.